Welcome into the Michigan Football Report. We're about 5 days removed from Michigan's loss to Florida in the Alamo Bowl. So I'm going to take a look at 6 embarrassing losses for Michigan in bowl games since the 2000 season. Kind of take a look at where this year's bowl game loss, and maybe even last year's bowl game loss to South Carolina, rank as the most embarrassing bowl losses since the year 2000. Michigan has been no stranger to not showing up for bowl games, so want to give you guys a recap. If you're looking for sunshine and all that stuff around Michigan football, this is not the show for you, but it's a little walk down memory lane of embarrassing bowl losses. So let's start off with my number 6 most embarrassing bowl loss. Got to go back to the 2005 season. These are seasons, by the way, so I want to hear any of you people, that was the 2000 whatever bowl game. If it's played January 1st, I'm still calling it the season. 2005 Alamo Bowl, Michigan, Nebraska. This is the game that Mike Hart showed his heart that last play, kept the ball alive on that flea flicker. Tyler Eifert was running. Steve Bresson standing next to him, tosses to Bresson. You have the greatest play in college football history, but Eifert goes out of bounds. This is an unranked Nebraska team. Zach Taylor, who's actually an up-and-coming coach in the world now, as their quarterback. Bill Callahan as their head football coach. Michigan up 28-17 with 11 minutes left in the game, and they ultimately lose 32-28 to Nebraska. This wasn't the old school Nebraska, great teams, national championship level teams of the 70s, 80s, 90s, early 2000s. This is the 2005 unranked Nebraska team against Michigan, who had 4 losses themselves with Chad Henne, with Mike Hart, with Jake Long, and a bunch of boatload of talented players. Mario Manningham at the wide receiver, Adrian Arrington. This was our number 6 most embarrassing loss. Chad Henne, a brutal day, 21 of 43, 270 and 3 touchdowns, but throwing for less than 50%. His counterpart, Zach Taylor, only 167 yards passing himself, 14 for 31. Mike Hart, 74 yards in the game. Tyler Ecker, did I say Tyler Eifert? Tyler Ecker, I'm sorry about that. 74 yards as the leading receiver for the Wolverines. That's my number 6 most embarrassing loss since 2000 in a bowl game. The number 5 most embarrassing loss, well, you just experienced it, folks. It is the Peach Bowl against Florida a few days back. Michigan just did not show up for this game. Florida knew everything that Michigan was trying to do on offense, everything Michigan was trying to do on defense. They made Felipe Franks look like he was Dwayne Haskins, 13 of 23 for 173, but he did it with his legs as well, 14 carries for 74 yards for Franks. We'll take a look at the box score here. Florida just did everything when they had the ball in their hands. They had, what do we have? 3 guys get over 50 yards, also added another player with 36 yards rushing, 257 yards rushing on the day for Florida, to only a paltry, an embarrassing 77 yards rushing for the University of Michigan this past Saturday against Florida. Michigan was the favorite by a touchdown. They didn't show up at all. They were blown out in the second half of this game. Michigan, for some reason, could not get anything better than like a 50-yard field goal, even though they had 3 minutes at the end of the half. Jim Harbaugh just cannot run a touchdown drive under 5 minutes, it seems, because that was bad, embarrassing play clock management. 4 starters did not choose to start this game. Obviously, Rashawn Gary, obviously Devin Bush on the defensive side, Karan Higdon, Jawan Bushell-Beatty on the offensive side. 41-15 in a battle of top 10 teams against an SEC power Florida. And Michigan had beat 4 times in the last 15 years. An absolute embarrassing performance. I know we've got all the Jim Harbaugh saying just what's stealing our spine and all this different stuff. This was flat out embarrassing. The players, the coaches, and the fans all should be embarrassed about that performance. See where it leads to in 2019. But the college football season is not over, folks. You can still bet on college football games. We've got Monday night, Clemson, Alabama, out there in the Bay Area. If you want to bet on it, if you think you know who's going to win the game, go to chatsports.com/bet. Get started with BetDSI to bet on college football. You get a 120% deposit bonus. Put down 50, get a free 60. 100, 120, all the way up to $500 to get 600 free. Plus, you get a Michigan football jersey, the maize #1 or the blue #4, a little Nico Collins, Jim Harbaugh special. Don't like a jersey? Grab one of those Block M baseball style shirts from Jordan. You sign up and deposit, use that promo code GOBLUE. You hit me on Twitter at James T. Yoder to have us send you that jersey. Don't call BetDSI looking for it. We're going to send you the jersey right here from Chat Sports, our holiday promo, extended holiday promo into the 2019 calendar year. Let's take a look at our next most embarrassing loss after Nebraska, after Florida. It is the 2017 Outback Bowl against South Carolina. So Jim Harbaugh, his team is making another appearance on this list. And that is not a good thing. That is not a good thing, folks, given that Jim Harbaugh has only been Michigan's head coach for 4 seasons. We all remember this game. If you don't, you should just eliminate it from your mind, your memory altogether. Michigan was up 19-3 midway through the third quarter, just like the past game, the game we just saw, against an SEC team that Michigan had more talent than, perceived talent than, an SEC team that didn't excite anybody on the offense, and a game that felt Michigan completely controlled in the first half, although the scoreboard in the game against Florida didn't reflect it. This one certainly did. Michigan was up 19-3 in this one, and then South Carolina rolled off 23 straight points at the end of the third quarter in the fourth quarter. That one was where a team didn't show up. Brandon Peters looked like he was an absolute disaster. The Michigan football coaching staff looked like they didn't want to be there, and it looked like they didn't game plan for South Carolina at all. The team completely gave up, and that is our number 4 most embarrassing bowl game loss since the year 2000. And with that, 3 to go, want to ask you guys a question. Watching on the Michigan Football Report YouTube channel and on my Twitter account, type one word below in the comments on YouTube or reply to it on Twitter. Describe one word to describe Jim Harbaugh's 4 years at Michigan. I put this question out on Twitter a few days ago, got 100+ responses. A lot of people saying disappointing, unfulfilled, but some people were positive. Meeting, expectations. I don't know what they were saying for the positive stuff. I can't think of any positive ones right now, given that Michigan has finished this year 0-2, last year 1-3, and 2016 1-3 down the stretch. One word below to describe Jim Harbaugh's 4 years in Ann Arbor. So we've got our 6, 5, and 4 most embarrassing bowl losses since 2000 for the Michigan Wolverines. Let's take a look at number 3. We've got to go way back to the 2001 season. John Navarre, his sophomore year, Michigan versus Tennessee. This was a Tennessee team that was a lot better than Michigan, let's just say that. They lost, I believe, in the SEC title game to LSU. They were a top 5 team going into that SEC title game. They dropped back to the Citrus Bowl against a Michigan team that came into the game 8-3. Casey Clausen, if you remember that name, 393 yards, 3 touchdowns on the day, and he ran for 2 more. So 5 touchdowns for Clausen on the day. 45-17. I remember this game vividly because I barely watched it. I was a young man at the time, was in New Orleans or New York City, one of them, for New Year's Eve. This is an 11 a.m. start. I don't know why they did Eastern time. I rolled out of bed, watched this thing hungover. It was a disaster from the start. ESPN's Mel Kiper reported the game. When was the game over? Kiper said back in 2001, January 2002, said the game was over the second Casey Clausen took his first snap, and Michigan couldn't do anything to stop the vaunted Volunteers offense. 45-17, blowout loss for Michigan in the 2001 season, the January 1, 2002 Citrus Bowl. Let's get into the nitty-gritty, the top 2 most embarrassing bowl losses for the Michigan Wolverines. How about the 2013 season, Brady Hoke's 3rd year in Ann Arbor? Buffalo Wild Wings Bowl, 31-14 loss to Kansas State in a matchup of unranked teams coming in. Shane Morris got the start for Michigan because I believe this is the game Brady Hoke just kept lying about Devin Gardner's injury until he just didn't play. No one ever really understood that one. But Michigan, again, major bowl, a bowl game to save their season, did not show up at all. Kansas State wide receiver, I'm going to pull this one up, had a hell of a day. That's a Tyler Lockett, 10 receptions against the Michigan secondary for 116 yards and 3 touchdowns. Shane Morris, 24 of 38, 196, no touchdowns, 1 interception. The leading rusher for that day, also Shane Morris. The second leading rusher, wide receiver Devin Funchess. The third leading rusher, Davion Smith, 4 carries for 7 yards. Michigan finished 15 carries for 65 yards on the day. Shane Morris for 196 through the air. Kansas State absolutely dominated Michigan. Looked like Michigan shouldn't even have been on the field with them that day. And given that it was not a matchup of top 5 or top 10 teams where you're just, hey, this team outperformed, out-athleted us, this is the best team in the country. These were two teams that were not at the top of college football, and Kansas State still showed up, completely embarrassed Brady Hoke. Hoke finished his Michigan career 1-2 bowl games. Won the first year. We all remember that in the Sugar Bowl versus Virginia Tech. Then followed up with a close loss to South Carolina and this blowout loss to Kansas State. Did not make a bowl game, obviously, after going 5-7 in his final year in Ann Arbor, 2014 season, which led to, of course, him getting fired and Jim Harbaugh coming on to be the new Michigan football coach. Before we get to number 1, want to ask everyone to subscribe to the new Michigan Football Report YouTube channel. We're about 3 weeks into this bad boy. We got out hot with 1,000 subscribers. We got to go live, and we're going live and getting a few thousand people to watch those on YouTube. Now when we get to 5,000, you don't even want to know what's going to happen. It is going to be the story of the year of 2019 for Michigan football. So let's get to 5,000 subscribers. YouTube.com/MichiganTV, the URL to go to for all off-season related Michigan football news, rumors, and the inside scoop on what's going on in the Wolverines football program. All right, let's get to our number 1. Our number 1 most embarrassing loss of the Michigan football bowl game since 2000. It's Rich Rod's last game in Ann Arbor, the 2010 season, January 1, 2011. Michigan faced Mississippi State. Dan Mullen again, he's got 2 of these top 6 most embarrassing losses. He was the coach that day. Rich Rod was basically not even the coach of Michigan anymore because everyone knew he was getting fired right after this game. And Mississippi State absolutely curb stomped Michigan. It was a 14-10 Michigan lead in the first quarter. 14-10, the Wolverines are up, right? And Mississippi State scored 42 unanswered points to end the game. You will never see another stat like that probably as long as Michigan football is being played. They have a first quarter lead, 14-10. A team rolls off 42 straight points, 6 straight touchdowns. Who was the quarterback for Mississippi State that day? Chris Reef. Who the hell is that? He went 18 of 23 for 281, 3 touchdowns that day. Vic Ballard, 20 carries, 76 yards for the Mississippi State Bulldogs. Denard, 27 of 41 for 254, and he also led Michigan in rushing, 59 yards on the ground. You'll notice a theme with all these bowl games. Michigan doesn't show up rushing the ball in these bowl games. They lose and they get blown out. Denard with 59 yards rushing. Michael Shaw with 19 yards rushing. Vincent Smith with 13. Michigan finished with 88 yards rushing on the game. Denard Robinson, 254 through the air, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Michigan blown out. Rich Rod's career over, and then Dave Brandon botches the coaching search, brings in Brady Hoke to extend the Michigan fans suffering from a 3-year stint with Rich Rod to what turned out to be a 7-year stint with Brady Hoke and Rich Rod. Let's review the 6 most embarrassing losses in Michigan football's bowl history since 2000. 2005 game versus Alabama, where Michigan had a lead in the 4th quarter and botched it completely. The Peach Bowl versus Florida. The Outback Bowl versus South Carolina. And then we get into the top 3. The Citrus Bowl versus Tennessee in 2001. The Buffalo Wild Wings Bowl versus Kansas State in the 2013 season. And the 2010 Rich Rodriguez last game at Michigan, 2010 Gator Bowl versus Mississippi State. You see those last two games, the final bowl game coach for both Brady Hoke and Rich Rodriguez. But Jim Harbaugh himself does have 2 of these top 6 big-time bowl losses. What is the worst Michigan bowl loss that you can remember, or bowl game in general, but I don't think you consider worst being one that they won? Go back past 2000. There's plenty in the 70s and 80s. Bo had some not necessarily crushing losses to bad teams like a lot of those were, but Bo had a lot of the was supposed to win a game or lost late, or Charles White fumbled at the goal line, but they didn't count it against USC Michigan. What is the worst bowl game that you can remember as a Michigan football fan? I want you guys to comment below, watching on the Michigan Football Report YouTube channel and live on my Twitter account. Comment below. We will be back with more Michigan football rumors this week. We've got the Michigan football fan mailbag coming. Also, some rumors around Pep Hamilton and the offensive coordinator. So stick with the Michigan Football Report, and we will see you then. Hey there, Michigan football fans. Thanks so much for watching the Michigan Football Report. If you haven't already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. We've got Michigan football news, rumors, recruiting information, and inside access to the Michigan football program. You ready for another Michigan football video? I got you hooked up right here. Go Blue.